Hello, my name is Isabella Perez, Recreation Leader for the City of Socorro. Thank you for joining today's meeting. Before the meeting begins, we would like to remind our guests to remove all hats and silence all electronic devices. No destructive behavior or outbursts will be tolerated, and violators are subject to ejection and possible prosecution.
Hola, mi nombre es Judy Rodríguez, secretaria de Planificación de la Ciudad de Socorro. Gracias por participar en la reunión de hoy. Antes de que comience la reunión, nos gustaría recordarles a nuestros invitados favor de quitarse los sombreros y silenciar todos los dispositivos electrónicos. No se tolerará ningún comportamiento perturbador ni exabrupto y los infractores estarán sujetos a expulsión y posible procesamiento.
It is 6:05 p.m. This meeting is called to order. Item number 2, Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence led by Socorro Middle School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing for the moment of silence.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ashley. Now, would you step forward? We'd like to give you a certificate of student leadership, and this is from the City of Socorro. And this is for Ms. Ashley Soto from Socorro Middle School. Item number 3, establishment of quorum.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Alejandro Garcia.
Here.
Mayor Ivy Avalos.
Here.
Rudy Cruz.
Here.
And Ivan Colombia Lobos.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 4, public comment.
We have 2 speakers for public comment, Mayor. Our first speaker is Héctor Ramos. Mr. Ramos, you have 3 minutes.
Muchas gracias. Mayor, consejeros, manager, buenas tardes. Héctor Ramos. Es un gusto volver a estar aquí frente a ustedes. El objetivo de esta nueva intervención es mencionar que dentro de unos pocos meses vamos a tener un nuevo concilio. Vamos a tener tal vez los mismos, tal vez nuevos consejeros, pero sí necesitamos tener una nueva actitud también para que la ciudadanía, los que nos ponemos aquí al frente, podamos tener una respuesta a las peticiones que les hacemos. Durante los últimos 4 años que he estado aquí al frente, viniendo ocasionalmente, pocas veces se ha oído de ustedes que le contesten a alguien respecto a la petición o de las peticiones que les enviamos por correo. Inclusive se ve más comúnmente el no le contesten, no le contesten, no le contesten. Y saben a quién me refiero, eso es lo más usual. Espero que el nuevo concilio tenga una nueva visión. Bueno, siendo justos, voy a decir que no todos actúan así. No importa si es cuando vengo a hacer mis preguntas aquí o son por internet. Mr. Rudy siempre ha tenido la amabilidad de darme, aunque sea una respuesta pequeña o mostrar su no estar de acuerdo con lo que yo menciono, y eso demuestra realmente una muy buena actitud, una muy buena disposición en cuanto a que le interesan las opiniones de todos los ciudadanos, no nada más los de su área. Esto es lo que tengo que mencionarles. Gracias.
Ángel Recio. Mr. Recio, you have 3 minutes.
I actually didn't put my name there. I'm representing 1121 Robin Road. I put my name there just in case of question when it's being assigned, but I didn't know you spoke.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
An
I'm
applicant
sorry.
to one of the items. We'll call you if we have any questions. Thank you, sir.
And those were all our speakers, Mayor.
Moving on to presentations, item number 5, presentation by El Paso County Capital Planning Department.
Good evening. This is really right here. Good evening. My name is Melissa Carrillo, and I serve as a Deputy County Administrator for El Paso County. And on behalf of Commissioners Court, I just want to thank you all for allowing us time this evening to speak with you. As you may know, we have been spending quite a bit of time engaging with our community regarding a bond initiative that is going to be on the November 5th ballot. And so this evening, I just want to share some information directly with you all. It's a matter of information. We are not allowed to advocate one way or another regarding any of these projects. So the information that I will share with you this evening is purely educational regarding what will be on the bond in terms of propositions. Okay? Thank you. Now that the Commissioners Court has ordered this bond election, the law requires county staff to only provide information to the public and does not allow us to advocate for or against any of the propositions that voters will consider during the election. During my meeting today, I'm here in my capacity as a public servant, on duty, and cannot take a position on the projects one way or another, and can only give factual explanations about them and give factual responses to any questions that you might have. So regarding this particular slide that's being shown, the capital improvement bond is divided into 5 propositions, which total approximately $323.8 million. Voters will have the opportunity to vote on each proposition separately on the propositions as listed in the following order. On the left, you see Proposition A, Parks and Recreation, Proposition B, Office of the Medical Examiner, Proposition C, Courthouse, sub-courthouses, and related annexes. Now moving to the right side of this slide, you see Proposition D, County Coliseum renovations, and lastly, Proposition E, Animal Shelter. Each of these propositions and the proposed projects related to each proposition are going to be provided in more detail on the next few slides. The total amount for all 5 propositions is approximately $323.8 million. The county's debt service tax rate is currently approximately about 5 cents for every $100 property value. Based on the current property tax value assumptions, if the capital improvement bond is approved, the county's debt tax rate will increase by an estimated 3 cents, which would increase taxes approximately $5 per month based on the average home value price of $200,956 in 2024. Additionally, each proposition includes funding for project enhancements, public art, and green infrastructure to be built in the collection of these capital projects. Such improvements will be identified on a project-by-project basis as applicable. If voters approve any of the propositions, the county will begin work on launching a public-facing dashboard so as to provide residents with information regarding the project development and the progress updates. Lastly, if voters do not approve a proposition, the county is either not authorized to issue any debt for any of the projects under that individual proposition for 3 years, or the the county may seek authorization from voters again in a subsequent election. Next slide, please. So the first of the 5 propositions, Proposition A, includes 19 of the 25 projects within this bond and totals approximately $95,615,000 for the public purpose of constructing, renovating, upgrading, and expanding the county's regional and neighborhood parks, as well as acquiring any real property necessary to complete the projects. Many of these 19 projects were previously identified in the county's Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Next slide, please. We will not show you in this presentation all 19 projects, but for this example, we are going to highlight Project A2, which is the Ascarate Regional Park Shelter Modernization Project. There are various improvements proposed at Ascarate Regional Park, including modernizing the approximate 80 shelters across the facility with new standardized structures and amenities. Additionally, the construction of a walking trail around the perimeter of the park is also proposed that would connect to the existing Playa Drain Trail and the neighboring community to increase pedestrian access to the park. Lastly, the project listing includes the construction of a new outdoor stage and covered pavilion, illumination and landscaping, hardscaping for the festival area, as well as standardized park signage. This particular project spans over approximately 20 acres of the park on the eastern side of the facility that was the former site of the Western Playland Amusement Park. This proposition also includes improvements to the county sports park in East El Paso, Gallegos Regional Park in the northwest part of the county, and San Felipe Regional Park north of Fabens. There are also a few projects that propose improvements to various local neighborhood parks in Montana Vista, Westway, Fabens, Tornillo, and Sparks. Many of these improvements include additional landscaping and lighting to benefit users of the facilities, renovating existing sidewalks and constructing new walking trails, as well as making improvements to playground surfaces, playground equipment, and providing shade to existing basketball courts at many of these facilities. A full project listing of the 19 projects within this proposition can be found at capital.epcounty.com, offering more detail and insight into the other projects that we did not highlight tonight. Next slide, please. The second of the 5 propositions is Proposition B, the Office of the Medical Examiner, and this totals $26.7 million for the public purpose of constructing, renovating, upgrading, and expanding a new office of the medical examiner, as well as acquiring any real property necessary to complete this project. Next slide. Project B1 includes the acquisition of land and funding required to construct the office of the new medical examiner. The Office of the Medical Examiner has various duties and responsibilities identified in Texas law, which includes investigating unattended deaths in the community, as well as forensic scene investigation, amongst many others. Next slide, please. The third of the 5 propositions, Proposition C, totals approximately $63.3 million for the public purpose of constructing, renovating, upgrading, and expanding the county courthouse, sub-courthouses, and related annexes, as well as acquiring any real property necessary to complete these projects. Next slide, please. The first of these projects, Project C1, proposes improvements for the El Paso County Annex at Corbin Zambrano, formerly the Naked Harem, which will provide mental health services, a law enforcement liaison center, victim resources and life skills education, community multipurpose rooms, community and meditation gardens, as well as an outdoor seating along Alameda Avenue in South Central El Paso. The design of this project is already underway based on other funding the county had received. Project C2 is located in the Mission Valley, and it includes additional space at the existing Isleta Courthouse Annex, including a commercial kitchen to support the county senior nutrition program. The new facility will be used for the preparation, storage, packaging, and delivery of approximately 2,400 daily meals to senior citizens countywide. And Project C3 on this slide will provide for the construction of the Far East Montana Annex to house various county departments and services that are currently operating out of manufactured and mobile buildings. The Far East Montana Annex will offer similar services as those provided at other county annexes, including community centers, Justice of the Peace Office, Constable's Office, County Commissioner Office, Sheriff's Office, Tax Office, County On-Site Inspectors, and the County Clerk's Office, which would serve the Far East El Paso and Montana Vista community. Next slide, please. The fourth of the 5 propositions, Proposition D, totals approximately $105.5 million for the public purpose of constructing, renovating, upgrading, and expanding the County Coliseum campus, as well as acquiring any real property necessary to complete this project. Next slide. Project D1 includes improvements and renovations to the County Coliseum campus, which is defined as the city block located between Paisano Drive to the north, Delta Drive to the south, South Boone Drive to the west, and Shelter Place to the east. This project includes various modernizations and renovations to the existing County Coliseum building, including HVAC upgrades, roofing improvements, renovation to address ADA accessibility issues, improving seating options, and constructing additions for loading dock operations and services. Other project elements within this campus include renovating the Sherman Barn, which is immediately south of the existing Coliseum. It would turn this place into an event and music venue space, reconstructing the former roller rink facilities into an open-air pavilion, as well as constructing paved parking lots throughout the site to ensure pedestrian connectivity within the site, as well as the installation of lighting and landscaping throughout the campus. Next slide, please. The final of the 5 proposed propositions is Proposition E, totaling approximately $32.7 million for the public purpose of constructing, renovating, upgrading, and expanding the new county animal shelter, as well as acquiring any real property necessary to complete this project. Next slide, please. Project E1 includes the construction of the county animal shelter, which is proposed to be adjacent to the El Paso County Jail Annex. The animal shelter will provide adoptions and shelter for an estimated 300 to 400 stray animals, low-cost to no-cost vaccinations, and spay and neuter surgeries to reduce the spread of disease and the population of stray animals. The animal shelter will also offer job skills and animal training programs for detainees within our detention center. Next slide, please. This project schedule reflects a proposed timeline if all propositions are approved by voters in November 2024. Please note this is preliminary and subject to change, but shows the work beginning in May 2025 and being completed toward the end of calendar year 2030. If approved, funds will be received in 2 issuances as shown here on this timeline for a total of approximately $323.8 million. The first issuance is scheduled to occur in the spring of 2025 and will total approximately $125 million. And the second issuance is scheduled for the spring of 2027 and will total an estimated $198.8 million. Next slide, please. The total debt service refers to the sum of payments made on both the principal or amount borrowed, as well as any interest during the course of repayment. As we have mentioned, the county is proposing financing approximately $323.8 million of project funds for the capital improvement bond. Over the course of an anticipated 20-year repayment period for this bond, the county will pay back approximately $486.4 million in total debt service, including $183.3 million in interest. The interest paid represents approximately 56.6% of the original project fund amount. For comparison, if a prospective home buyer was to finance a $200,000 home, which is about the average home value in our community today, using a 20-year mortgage, providing the required 3.5% down payment of $7,000, and assuming an average current interest rate in Texas as of September 6th of 5.78%, the home buyer would pay approximately $193,000 in principal and approximately $137,823 in interest, totaling approximately $330,823. The interest paid on this example represents approximately 71.3% of the amount of the original project cost. Next slide, please. Lastly, we would like for you to look at the language for each proposition as it will appear on the ballot in November. El Paso County Proposition A, the issuance of bonds in an amount not to exceed $95,615,000 for the county's parks and recreational spaces and the levy of taxes sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds. El Paso County Proposition B will read, the issuance of bonds in an amount not to exceed $26,700,000 for facilities for the county's Office of the Medical Examiner and the levy of taxes sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds. Next slide. The next two propositions, Proposition C, the issuance of bonds in an amount not to exceed $63,285,000 for the county's courthouse, sub-courthouses, and related annexes, and the levy of taxes sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds. Proposition D, the issuance of bonds in an amount not to exceed $105,485,000 for the county's Coliseum and adjacent facilities, and the levy of taxes sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds. And next slide. The final proposition is E, and it would read on the bond, the issuance of bonds in an amount not to exceed $32,710,000 for the county's animal shelter and levy of taxes sufficient to pay the principal of and interest on the bonds. As a matter of reference, voting for any of these propositions means authorizing the county to start the project or projects under that proposition. Voting against any of the propositions means not authorizing the county to start the project or projects under the proposition. Next slide, please. That concludes my presentation for you all this evening. Thank you for bearing with me through that important information. For your viewers and for your reference, if ever you want to gather more detail, you can see that we do have a dedicated webpage to communicating this information to our residents at capital.epcounty.com. You're welcome to ask me any questions at this time. I'd be happy to take them.
Mr. Garcia?
Thank you. Do you have any of this information in Spanish?
We do. Thank you for asking. Every meeting that we've had thus far has come with a Spanish interpreter. We also did a dedicated Spanish meeting for Spanish residents, and then we've recorded that meeting and put it on that website so that everything that I just said can be said in Spanish, as well as the website is in English, and there's a reference page for Spanish.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great question.
Mayor,
Ms. Villalobos?
my question is, if these propositions don't pass or one of them does not pass, do you guys have a plan B to get these items taken care of a different way?
Yes, ma'am. Excellent question. As the Commissioners Court put this package together for the public's consideration, we used what we call a BOAC, or the Bond Advisory Committee. Much of this discussion comes from projects that we needed to complete at the county, and through the recommendations of this BOAC committee, these were the projects decided to hit the ballot. As mentioned earlier in the presentation, if these fail, if any of these propositions fail, the Commissioners Court is not allowed to invest any of our finances in any of these projects unless we take them back to subsequent voters or we wait a 3-year period before using other funds to get these projects completed. So in terms of a plan B, if the propositions fail, we cannot execute on any of those projects because the voters will have spoken and said not to.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for your time. I'm going to leave something with Ms. Rodarte. In the event you want, it's a reference sheet. It would be helpful for you and your staff maybe to reference back in the event you have questions. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6, presentation and congressional update from Congresswoman Veronica Escobar's office.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is my pleasure to introduce Congresswoman Veronica Escobar's staff, who will be leading you in a brief update on the congressional activities. I will introduce Ms. Priscilla Contreras first, and then her new staff will also introduce themselves as she has new faces to introduce to the team.
I am short, so I'm going to lower this. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Priscilla Contreras, District Representative for Congresswoman Veronica Escobar. So we are here today to give you a brief congressional update on what the Congresswoman has been up to for the last 2 years that this Congress has been in session. Not that she needs any introduction, but Congresswoman Veronica Escobar is the first woman to represent Texas 16 in the House of Representatives. She is also one of 2 Latinas who were elected to serve in Congress back in 2022. She is also the co-chair of the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee, making her the only Texan in both the House and the Senate to hold a leadership position. And currently she sits on the Judiciary, Ethics, and Armed Services Committee. This is a graphic of our district office team who is based here in El Paso. Emily Loya is our district director who oversees all operations here in our district office. And then, as Victor mentioned, I have with me 2 of my newest colleagues, Kaylee Castillo, who is our grants coordinator and also covers all things infrastructure, transportation, economic development, etc. And then Sharon Zambrano, who covers all things military and veteran affairs.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Sharon Zambrano. I'm with the Office of Congresswoman Veronica Escobar. So first, I'd like to start off with the Congresswoman investing in our veterans. Our district, Texas 16, is home to over 48,000 veterans. From fiscal year 2022 appropriations, $700 million was secured for the new El Paso VA Healthcare Center. Another important piece of legislature that the Congresswoman is a big supporter of is the PACT Act. It has been the largest healthcare and benefits expansion in VA history. As of July of this year, El Paso VA has received almost 10,000 PACT Act related claims. And nationwide, the VA has reported completion of at least 5.6 million toxic exposure screenings.
3 big pieces of legislation that the Congresswoman was proud to vote for. Just for your knowledge, El Paso has 2 members of Congress that represent the area. She was the only one in the region who voted for these 3 pieces of legislation. The first is the bipartisan infrastructure law. So far, that bill in itself has brought back over $750 million to El Paso, including $650 million to the BOTA, over $45 million from the Inflation Reduction Act. That picture that you see on the slide is actually from a ribbon cutting that she held with Socorro ISD, where they received 25 electric school buses to help air emissions for our students and our bus drivers. And the third piece of legislation is the CHIPS and Science Act. Through this piece of legislation, El Paso was awarded $500,000 as one of 22 finalists for the Recompete program. And as of right now, we are in talks with the federal government to attract up to $160 million for the NSF. The Dignity Act, I believe you all have heard of it. Last year, the Congresswoman introduced this bill with her Republican colleague, Maria Salazar from Florida. And the Dignity Act essentially accomplishes 4 things. It opens up robust legal pathways. It recognizes that migration happens before migrants arrive at the southern border. It reforms our border processes, and it addresses the undocumented population in the US. This bill is important to El Paso for many reasons. It manages the border, again, by reforming outdated immigration processes. It ensures that our Border Patrol agents are out in the field and not doing administrative duties. It invests $10 billion in infrastructure and technology upgrades at our ports of entry. And it ensures that our taxpayers here in El Paso are not shouldering the cost of housing migrants. Community project funding requests. I believe you all are familiar with this. The Congresswoman was able to secure some funding for the city of Socorro. Currently, Congress is still appropriating funding for FY25, but you all are set to receive $500,000 for the Paso del Norte Trail Socorro spine alignment. And then last year, huge win, the Congresswoman was able to secure $1.05 million for the rehabilitation of the Rio Vista. And 2 years ago, although the city of Socorro was not a direct recipient of the $500,000, El Paso County was awarded $500,000 for business retention and expansion along the Mission Trail. In total, for fiscal year 25, El Paso is set to receive $15.6 million from the Congresswoman. And then over the last 3 years, she has been able to secure over $50 million for the region.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Kaylee Castillo, District Representative for the Office of Congresswoman Veronica Escobar. Up on this slide, you will see the most recent grants that have been awarded. Although these federal grants have not directly been awarded to the City of Socorro, they are grants that will benefit or have benefited the city and its residents. Moving on to constituent services and what our office can do for you and your residents, our office can assist with any constituent request regarding a federal agency. The federal agencies are the ones that you can see up here. If you or anyone you know has been having an issue with one of these federal agencies, please feel free to contact our office, and we're more than happy to provide that intervention. There is a process for constituent services. First and foremost, it's important that the individual seeking assistance fills out a privacy release form. You can find these privacy release forms at our website. Those that are seeking assistance from our office, they do have to be residents from Texas's 16th Congressional District, which is what Congresswoman Veronica Escobar represents. Please note that, as we know, federal agencies can take a while to respond. We give them about 30 to 90 days. So if you or anybody you know begins a case with our office, just allow us that time to provide a response for you. Also, something important to note is per House ethics rules, we cannot intervene or change any ongoing process that is going on. We're only here to advocate and assist in any way we can. Mobile office hours, we have been hosting different mobile office hours around the El Paso area. Our last one that we have been hosting this fall is going to be at the Don Haskins Recreation Center. Additionally, we're always available in our office. It's downtown, but of course, if any residents isn't able to make it, we're just a phone call or email away as well. To this day, we have been able to complete over 1,000 cases, saving El Paso more than $4 million.
In addition to constituent services, we also have different youth programs where we like to engage our youth from El Paso. The first is our Congressional Art Competition, which takes place every spring from around January to April. This is open to all high school students who either live in or attend school in Texas 16. Socorro High School is within our district. The winning artwork is then displayed in the Capitol for a year, and hundreds of thousands of people see it through the tunnel. The Congressional App Challenge is currently underway, and this is open to both middle and high schoolers. The deadline for this year's challenge is October 24th. We also have the Library of Congress Surplus Books Program. This is a program that allows our office to visit the Library of Congress and get as many books as we need to distribute to nonprofits or government entities in our region. So if you all have a school, a library in your areas that you would like us to get books for, all you need to do is let us know what genre and how many books you all would like, and we are happy to deliver them.
Another opportunity for our youth is a Congressional Youth Advisory Council. The Congresswoman began this council for an opportunity for high school students who have an interest in public service and the legislative process. Even though our upcoming school years, the application has closed, students who live in our district that are in the grades 10 through 12 are eligible to apply. And then here is just what has to be submitted with the application. It's a resume, a cover letter, guardian authorization, and a media release form, and then one letter of recommendation. Another opportunity for high school and college and graduate level students is internships through either our El Paso office or our DC office. New classes are selected in the fall, summer, and spring. The deadline for our spring 2025 internship is November 29th this year at 5 p.m. And then to apply also includes the resume, one letter of recommendation, and a cover letter. An opportunity for students that are interested in going to the Service Academy. They do require to have a nomination through Congress. The Congresswoman Escobar can nominate a limited number of students to 4 of the 5 service academies, being the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, the United States Merchant Marine Academy, and the Military Academy. To be considered for the Service Academy nomination, they can go onto our website and apply through there, and then just submit all their documentation. For students wanting to get into this next school year, our application deadline is December 6th, and it is at 5 p.m.
Some of the additional services that we offer grant-related, we do offer several services. So if you haven't already, please feel free to email our grants email listed here. So you can sign up to our grants newsletter. That's where we'll be giving updates on any grants that are open and accepting applications that will benefit the city. Also, if your entity is applying for a grant, please feel free to reach out to us. We are always happy to provide a letter of support on behalf of the Congresswoman and advocate for the city. We also have research services, which we offer. If you email the email listed above, we can provide in-depth services. Just a note as well, the timeline for these can be a little lengthy just because we are inquiring on behalf of our DC office as well. So it'll be a very, very in-depth research service. Some additional services that we do offer is if you or you know of anybody that finds themselves in DC, we do any requests, any tours. Additionally, here at our DO office, we provide any commendations. So if there's anybody that you would like to recognize or highlight, please feel free to contact us, and we're more than happy to provide them with a congressional recognition. That concludes our presentation. We have our contact information up here. Again, we're open to the public. If there's anything that we can assist with, please feel free to reach out to us, contact us via email, cell phone, visit our office. We're here to help. If there's anything that you're unsure of, if it's under our jurisdiction or not, feel free to reach out to us regardless, and we can definitely try to get an answer for you.
And with that, if you all have any questions, we're happy to take them.
Questions? Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
I'd like to make note that Commissioner Ileana Olguin has come to our meeting. We thank you for coming and appreciate your presence. Item number 7, presentation and discussion on the Harmony Desalination Project in Socorro.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jose Boteo, planner with the City of Socorro. Growing with Cerro Farms is partnering with Harmony Desalting to bring a pilot desalination project to the City of Socorro. With Texas's water demand outpacing supply, projects like this could help address the growing shortage. And so Harmony Desalting will present on the costs and benefits of small farming desalination projects and the potential role in sustainable water management. And so Ms. Marty Loya approached us and the Economic Recovery Office regarding the development of the project and the best path to move forward. And so she's here with us today, along with Mr. Quantum Way of Harmony Desalting, who would like to introduce the project to City Council. Ms. Loya?
I'm short too. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Marty Loya. Most of you probably already know me, but in case you don't, I was born and raised here in Socorro. My husband and I own a farm called Growing with Sarah Farm, where we grow products for our Bodega Loya, where we sell the products to lots of people in our community, outside our community, outside of El Paso County, so on and so forth. One of the struggles that we have as a small farmer is water. We have 3 sources right now. We have flood irrigation, which is the water that comes from the Rio Grande. We have city water, and then we have a well, which is the original well that has been on the farm for many years, over 100 years. Unfortunately, the well water is very salty. We cannot use the well water to irrigate our products right now. The water coming from the Rio Grande is very dirty. For us to use that water for our products that is eventually going out to the consumer, we have to test it for E. coli. So our only main source right now is city water. So you can imagine what that bill is or was June, July, and August of this year. Very expensive. So when Harmony reached out to me early this year and told us about this project, I figured this is something that could be very beneficial to ourselves, other small farmers, small communities. I mean, you can name it, it goes on and on. They were already talking to a farm in East Texas, so we just kind of let the doors open and said, okay, just let us know how the project goes. Fortunately or unfortunately, which way you want to go look at it, the farm in East Texas did not have the infrastructure they were looking at. It did not have a well or any kind of electricity connected to the well. So they came back to us and we said, okay, let's do it. So we're pursuing this project and we're here to present it to you because we feel this is important not only to the city of Socorro, the people in Socorro, the farmers, to the state of Texas, to El Paso County, to many, many entities that we know that water is an issue right now. We have been interviewed several times already because of the policy that was established 40 years ago, I think, between the United States and Mexico, that we were supposed to be exchanging water, but nobody has water right now. So I'm going to introduce to you Quantum Way, who's with Harmony. We also have Skip Clark, who's with THC, Texas Historical Commission. He's an archaeologist steward, and we'll explain to you why we've been talking to him as well too. And I'll let Quantum give you the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Council, for your time and attention this evening. I have some slides up here. My name is Quantum Way. I'm founder of Harmony Desalting. We're a water desalination startup, and we have this project to do high recovery of brackish well water for use as irrigation in Socorro, Texas. I'm going to start with the video. This is an interview with the Texas Agricultural Commissioner, Sid Miller, from last month. Short clip.
How much is on the line for water in this state? Well, what's at risk here in this state if we don't get this figured out? Well, you know, at one time we could water ourselves with windmills and cisterns. Those days are long gone. We're up to 30 million people, and we have a finite amount of water. How much is on the line for water in this state? Well,
yeah, no problem. So I'll summarize the interview. Sid goes on to talk about how the state of Texas is losing about one farm a week, and really the problem it isn't lack of land, it's that we're running out of water. And maybe 100 years ago, we could have managed that water problem by the use of cisterns and windmills. But nowadays things are very different. There's a lot of population growth in Texas. That means a lot more water demand. We need to move on to newer solutions, which includes innovative collection of rainwater, reuse of water, and eventually desalination. Desalination is a technology by which we can remove salt from water and make it suitable for either drinking or irrigation purposes. That's what we specialize in. And you know, the Southwest here has a pedigree really of innovating in desalination. There is the Center for Inland Desalination Systems over at UTEP. New Mexico State University is also doing some very nice world-class research in desalination. And not far from here, in Alamogordo, New Mexico, is the Brackish Groundwater National Desalination Research Facility. When I was a graduate student up in Boston at MIT, we had desalination projects that would go all the way out to Alamogordo. I've heard about it for years. I was able to visit for the first time just a couple months ago. So really, the Southwest desalination is a critical solution, and you are really leading the way in terms of developing that technology. And right here, closer to here, is the Key Bailey Hutchinson desalination plant. This is the largest inland desalination plant in the United States. Now, all of these people here who are working on improving desalination, they're really focused on two big problems. One is reducing the energy associated with the technology, which makes it expensive. But a particular problem for inland desalination is brine disposal. Seawater desalination plants, when they're on the coast, they can just put that brine back into the ocean. But when we're inland, disposing of the brine is a big problem. The easiest solution is to dig a big pond, evaporation pond, wait for it to evaporate. But in some cases, some places might even haul the water away, which can get really quite expensive, or they might do deep well injection. So brine disposal and energy are two key obstacles to widespread implementation of this technology. At Harmony, we've developed a technology. It's a variation of reverse osmosis, RO, which is called batch reverse osmosis. Now, one of the reasons reverse osmosis uses so much energy is it's a constant pressure process. And to desalinate high salinity water requires really high pressures. Our technology, which was invented and developed at MIT, is a batch process. And the way it's different is the pressure can change over time. By introducing variable pressure, we not only save energy, it's the most energy efficient way to do desalination, but we can also resist scale formation. This is a phenomenon that limits the water recovery of desalination plants. Over the past 3 years, we've been working on showing that this technology works. Just a year out of the lab, we had our first field demonstration. This was a nationwide contest sponsored by the Bureau of Reclamation. We went down to Yuma, Arizona. They've got a test facility there. We competed against 4 other teams. One of the other teams was actually from UTEP, and we performed there for a week. Whoever recovered the most water won, and I'm proud to say that our team recovered the most water, so we won that contest. The next year, we then went up to Canada. This again was another technology bake-off. There were 3 finalist teams. This was a wastewater reuse demonstration for relocatable temporary camps. Again, the team that made the most water won, and our team took home the first prize. We've also been recognized at the international stage. We received Impact Medal by the Global Prize in Desalination, recognized for our ability, our technologies promise to reduce the use of chemicals in desalination plants. But we're really proud of these demonstrations. But one thing you'll note, we produced hundreds of thousands of gallons from these pilots, but most of this water didn't end up being used because they were still really lab kind of simulated demonstrations. So the reason we've come here is we've been awarded a pitch to pilot grant, again from the Bureau of Reclamation. This is $300,000 in federal funds, which we've been awarded. We're one of 8 awardees. But what's really unique about this project is out of these 8 projects, we're the only project that is proposing some groundbreaking work. We're proposing digging that evaporation pond, and what we're really excited about is this proposed project, all of the water will actually be used to grow grapes at the farm, at the site that's being proposed. So we're really excited about this project, but it does require some additional costs because of the groundbreaking work that is being proposed. But I'd like to discuss the benefits, really the benefits of this project, why we think it'll be useful to small-scale farmers, small-scale communities, is this project is going to demonstrate the efficiency of our technology and the ability to operate off-grid. By operating off-grid, rather than bringing a 3-phase power hookup to here, we're already saving $50,000, if not more, to the project's cost. We'll also be demonstrating the ability of our technology to reduce the brine waste. This means a smaller evaporation pond, which means more land on the farm that can be dedicated to growing these grapes. And finally, low maintenance. It's really important that this technology is low maintenance, and we hope to demonstrate that over the course of this year-long project. So this is a photo of the proposed pilot site, which will take place at 232 South Navarez Farm. As Marty mentioned, we've already had a journalist who's come down here. She's reporting on the use of desalination for agricultural use. The project is funded by the Bureau of Reclamation, but the Texas Water Development Board, they're aware of this project. They could be a potential source of funds if this project is successful to help support future larger desalination projects. We're in close touch with the Texas Historical Commission and also the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, they mandate that for disposal of the brine, that we design and construct a brine pond, have it properly lined, properly sized. And the Texas Historical Commission, they've come into the picture because this site is literally right next to the Socorro mission. So to comply with their regulations, we'll do an archaeological survey, make sure that any artifacts that are found are properly handled while we excavate this pond. We're here to ask the City of Socorro for their support in bringing the project here. Our pilot site partner is the Loyas. They've been incredible. I've enjoyed visiting every time that I've been here. We've got Johannes and Yvette from ESCO Environmental. They are going to perform the water quality tests that we need done to design the system and to make sure that the product water is good for the plants. And they'll also be signing off on the design of the pond. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Marty.
So our goal, as Quantum mentioned, is that we want to establish a vineyard. And we think, in addition to what we're doing with this, bringing back the grapevines to Socorro is also an awesome thing because it was here before, many, many, many years ago. So we're hoping that with this pilot, because it is a pilot, we can do that and eliminate the need for using city water to irrigate the grapes. Been in touch with Jose from Economic Development to see if there's any other grants that we can go after because we do have some added costs. For example, the archaeologists doing the dig, that was not planned for because we didn't know where it was gonna, or they didn't know where it was gonna wind up. I think it's a blessing in disguise that we do it there, close to the mission, but we have to follow the right procedure for that. We were gonna use electrical, but instead of using electrical, we're gonna use solar panels, which is a little more expensive, but I think it's gonna be more efficient as well too. So any questions that you guys have at this time, we'd be happy to answer, but we will be reaching out to you and continue working with Jose and trying to locate some additional funding resources for this project.
Questions?
Mayor.
Ms. Villalobos?
I do. Ms. Loya, how are you?
I'm good.
So I just want to, I'm all for it. I love the idea that you're bringing and that you guys have researched. I'm just wondering if our current ordinances will allow for this project. Has anyone looked into this? Or do we, after this meeting, start looking into this?
No, we are actually working with your director of planning because we're not sure exactly what the zoning should be, and she's trying to figure that out because it's still agriculture, because the equipment is going to be hooked up directly to the well, which is on the farm right now. So I think she's still investigating that as well too.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we are facilitating something like this in a way where everything is done properly, legal, and just so that you can move forward and not have to wait around for our ordinances to change or to move forward.
And our hopes is to get the project started January of 2025. We also have a couple of interns from UTEP that are going to be working on this project to help collect the data, because as the equipment is working, we want to collect the data to see what is actually happening to the water as it's producing.
Thank you for the information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Cruz?
Yes, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to move item number 24 up on the list.
Second.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Aye.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 24, discussion and action to direct staff on writing an ordinance that would prohibit or require proper treatment of any pecan shells, almond hulls, or any other material that may attract or harbor pests before being placed in the ground.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before I present this item, I did want to make it clear to the people that the El Paso County region is the largest producer in the state of Texas for pecans. And I think that it's important to state that we grow pecans, we don't de-shell the pecans. And so a lot of the issues that we're seeing with the shelling companies is the shells that are being brought in from outside of the county is I think what's creating the issue that we've been seeing. I did want to state that by ensuring that these materials are carefully managed, we can help reduce the risk of infestations and maintain the quality of our landscape and our community. I did also want to state some of the facts that were placed in a list of Commissioner Miller from the Texas Department of Agriculture, and he stated that they've activated the Texas Department of Agriculture's Biosecurity Enforcement Division response team to conduct visual inspections and assessments. The team will also be scouting the area for sources of the red flower beetle, including the nut material piles. The team will also be meeting with stakeholders, city, county, and state government officials to address the concerns. The Texas Department of Agriculture is also requesting that the spreading of all nut hull material on roads and other surfaces cease immediately to eliminate further spread of the beetle. Now, although these recommendations have come down from the Texas Department of Agriculture, I think that as a municipality and a body of government, we have to act from within. So at this time, I've placed this agenda item right now that for staff to go and create an ordinance that would prohibit or require the proper treatment of any pecan shell, almond hulls, or any other materials that may attract or harbor pests before being placed in the ground. I believe that staff will come back, and if it meets guidelines and if we all agree to it, then we'll adopt it at that time. Correct. Okay, that's my item. Thank you.
Mayor?
Ms. Villalobos?
Yes, I 100% agree with this item. At the meeting, this was one of my questions, and it was twice at the two meetings that were held. And the farmer that was there, local farmer, and TDA were not in support of us moving forward with something like this. I do believe that we are our own government and local, and we should be protecting ourselves, our people. So therefore, I'm not sure what the attorney's going to find out once looking at this ordinance or moving forward with something like this, because like I said, although we should be protecting our citizens and, not allowing these type of products to come into our city, TDA and even the farmer were not, I'm not gonna say they were not in favor. Let's just say that. They were not in favor. But I'm hoping that the city comes back with something. I think we talked about moving these shells out 20 miles away or something like that. But I don't know if that's the final solution for something like this. Just thought I'd bring that up. Thank you.
1 second, please. Ms. Rodarte?
Yes, I just wanted to, so I was part of those meetings, and that is actually an untrue statement. We
Oh.
did receive a flyer from TDA giving us a recommendation to create an ordinance. I think the only
Yeah.
opposition was Mary Gonzalez's office on the legislation recommendation and also the fines. Right, that she wouldn't support that at the legislative level. Right, that was the only opposition that we really did hear at that meeting, and I just wanted to make sure that we are on the same page, because we do have a flyer from TDA recommending us to create an ordinance, a local ordinance.
Mayor?
I believe Mr. Cruz is next.
Okay.
So just to add to the discussion, because I know that we may be questioned or there may be phone calls, this is not to affect the residents living within our area or jurisdiction that have already placed pecan shells, because ultimately they weren't the cause of the red beetle, and nature is very, very difficult to control. And we're not here to place blame. What we're trying to do is be proactive for the future so that it doesn't occur. We've all heard the stories. We've received phone calls, emails, photographs, videos of just the chaos it's created here within our area. It's also spread out into other areas such as San Elizario, the city of El Paso, and other parts of the county. But ultimately, this item here is to create awareness and also educate our residents that we are in support of our local farmers. So we're not creating this against the local farmers. It's mainly towards anything that's coming from the exterior of the county is what we need to start regulating. And that's something that we can do as a city. I think that we should take advantage of that by being proactive and keeping our people safe. Because I don't want to see us go through this again. I know it's been difficult and it's dying down. And I know in the colder months that are coming, they'll start dying out. And then we'll get an infestation of something else. It'll be moths next time or something like that. But that's the purpose of my item. Thank you.
Ms. Villalobos, you had a question?
No, I just, Ms. Rodarte, thank you for clarifying that. I don't want to put out any misinformation out there. I must have misunderstood Mr. From TDA, because I did propose that question, and he did say that wasn't the solution, but I have not read the email or was it an email that was sent today?
No, it was sent the day of the meeting. It was actually given to us as a flyer. I'll go ahead and send it to you again, but it has been attached to several emails that I've sent with updates.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, Mr. Martinez, on this item, do we have to pick which one we would like to see, or it's because it's saying prohibit or require treatment?
No, council doesn't. I mean, that's, as it's phrased, it's asking, it's instructing staff to go forth and explore and come back with one of these proposals.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Yes. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz.
Aye.
And Ivan Colombia Alonso.
Yes.
Moving on to consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Yes. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colombia Alonso.
Yes.
Now moving on to regular agenda, public hearings and ordinances. Item number 14, public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Robert E. Nix Survey number 305 located at Gateway West Boulevard, Socorro, Texas, from unclassified to ICMUD industrial commercial mixed-use developments with a variance request for a 50-foot maximum allowable building height and reduced parking space requirement of 1 space per 400 square feet of net leasable office space and 1 space per 5,000 square feet of net leasable warehouse area to allow for warehousing and distribution facilities. It is 7:09 PM. Public hearing is now open.
No speakers, Mayor.
Would anybody like to speak on this item?
I have a question. Tal vez ustedes ya lo hicieron dentro del proceso, pero mi pregunta es, ¿en qué les afecta a la persona que está haciendo esa petición en cumplir con el reglamento como está establecido y en qué le beneficiará a la ciudad en hacer este cambio? ¿Se me explica?
It's just a public hearing, so. Anybody else? As there are no more speakers, public hearing is now closed at 7:10 PM. Item number 15, second reading and adoption of an ordinance for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of Robert E. Nix Survey number 305 located at Gateway West Boulevard, Socorro, Texas, from unclassified to ICMUD industrial commercial mixed-use developments with a variance request for a 50-foot maximum allowable building height and reduced parking space requirement of 1 space per 400 square feet of net leasable office space and 1 space per 5,000 square feet of net leasable warehouse area to allow for warehousing and distribution facilities.
Motion to approve.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jose Botello, planner with the City of Socorro. Item number 15 on the agenda is the rezoning request for the 73-acre Gateway Industrial Development. And so some general information on this request. The property owner is Darrington Land LLC. The representative is Mr. Brad Maples from TC Austin Acquisitions LLC. The lot size is 73.077 acres. The property is currently unclassified. The current land use is vacant, and our future land use map has listed this property as industrial commercial mixed use. And so the summary of the request is for approval of a rezoning from unclassified to ICMUD with a variance request to allow for warehousing and distribution facilities. Planning and zoning staff recommend approval of the rezoning and variance request for a 50-foot maximum allowable building height and reduced parking space requirements of 1 space per 400 square feet of net leasable office space and 1 space per 5,000 square feet of net leasable warehouse area. The Planning and Zoning Commissioners did vote for approval with staff's recommendation at their September 17, 2024 meeting. And so on the next slide, you'll see the location map. This property is situated along I-10, just within our city's limits. On the next slide, you'll see on the zoning map, you'll see the property outlined in a thick yellow line. The gray denotes the unclassified zoning designation for this property. And then these are a few pictures that were taken of the property along Gateway West Boulevard. And then you'll see the aerial image with once again, the property outlined in the thick yellow line. And so the purple translucent overlay on this future land use map is the industrial commercial mixed use that was projected in the future land use map. And so we did notify our constituents within 200 feet of the property. The properties you can see that are colored in a light purple color. And we received no correspondence for this rezoning request. And so the next slide, you'll see the development plan showing the intent for this property to establish warehouse and manufacturing facilities. So the total square footage of the proposed warehouses is a little bit under 610,000 square feet. You can see the ponding area along abutting Gateway West Boulevard. And the development is scheduled to be completed in September of 2026. And as part of the requirements to rezone to ICMUD, the applicants are required to submit a traffic impact analysis It's a lengthy report, so this is summary, page 1 of 3, looking at the site study area. Site number 1 is looking at the Darrington and Vista Larga area. Number 2 is Gateway West and FM 1110, and on the other side, they looked at the traffic along Gateway East and FM 1110. And so this is the existing AM peak hour traffic counts, looking at those 3 intersections, right? It's kind of hard to see, but the next slide shows the 2026 projected AM peak hour traffic. And so seeing that this development is right along I-10, that there'd be very minimal traffic or impacts to the surrounding areas. And so once again, the summary of the request is for approval of rezoning from unclassified to ICMUD with a variance request to allow for warehousing and distribution facilities. And at this time, staff can answer any questions. We also have Mr. Grajeda and Mr. Brian Brook present to answer any questions as well.
Questions? No questions.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Alejandro Garcia. Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 16, public hearing of an ordinance to request a conditional use permit to allow for a mechanic shop in a C2 General Commercial Zoning District on Tract 1-A-9 Lake Clark Survey 293, Abstract 6257, located at 1121 Robin Road, Socorro, Texas. It is 7:16 p.m. Public hearing is now open.
No speakers, Mayor.
Would anybody like to speak on this item? As there are no speakers, public hearing is now closed at 7:16 p.m. Item number 17, second reading and adoption of an ordinance to request a conditional use permit to allow for a mechanic shop in a C2 General Commercial Zoning District on a Tract 1-A-9 Lake Clark Survey 293, Abstract 6257, located at 1121 Robin Road, Socorro, Texas.
Motion to approve.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Item number 17 on the agenda is the conditional use permit request at 1121 Robin Road. And so some general information on this request. The property owner is Recios Group LLC. The representative is Ms. Norma Araceli Martinez. The lot size for this property is 4.46 acres. The property is currently zoned C2, which is general commercial. The current land use is commercial as well. And our future land use map designated this property as regional commercial. The summary of the request is for approval of a conditional use permit to allow for a mechanic shop in a C2 general commercial zoning district. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit to allow for a mechanic shop, and the Planning and Zoning Commissioners voted for approval of the conditional use permit request at their September 17, 2024 meeting. And so on the next slide, you'll see the property is situated right along Robin Road, within close vicinity to I-10, and then followed by the zoning map. So the property is outlined in a thick yellow line, currently zoned C2. These are a couple of pictures that were taken from the property along Robin Road, followed by an aerial image of the property. Once again, the property outlined in a thick yellow line. And then the future land use map, the translucent red overlay is the regional commercial zoning district that was determined in the future land use map. And so these the properties around this location were notified of the conditional use permit request. We did receive an anonymous call demanding for a ponding area along with this conditional use permit request. And this is the site plan that was provided to the Planning and Zoning Department, showing the existing structure that will house the mechanic shop, followed by the parking spaces for the vehicles, and the ponding area in a small blue rectangle that you can see on the site plan. And so once again, the summary of the request is for approval of a conditional use permit to allow for a mechanic shop in a C2 general commercial zoning district. And at this time, staff can answer any questions. We also have the representative present as well to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Alejandro Garcia. Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Item number 18, public hearing of an ordinance approving a preliminary plat resubmission and final plat for East Wind Hills Unit 2 subdivision, being a portion of Robert E. Nix Survey Number 301, El Paso County, Texas. It is 7:20 p.m. Public hearing is now open.
No speakers, Mayor.
Would anybody like to speak on this item? As there are no speakers, public hearing is now closed at 7:20 p.m. Item number 19, second reading and adoption of an ordinance approving a preliminary plat resubmission and final plat for East Wind Hills Unit 2 subdivision, being a portion of Robert E. Nix Survey Number 301, El Paso County, Texas.
Motion to approve.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Cebotello once again, planner with the City of Socorro. Item number 19 on the agenda is the East Wind Hills Unit 2 preliminary plat resubmission and final plat. And so once again, some general information on this on these plats. Property owner is Clint Land Holding Co. 2 LLC. The representative is Mr. Jorge Ascarate with the CEA Group. The lot size is 343.98 acres. This property is right outside our city limits, so it's right within our Socorro's 2-mile ETJ. Current land use is vacant, and the future land use map does not apply to this property as it's outside our extraterritorial jurisdiction. And so the summary of the request is for approval of a preliminary plat resubmission and a final plat for East Wind Hills Unit 2 subdivision. Council did approve the preliminary plat back in September 28 of 2023. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat resubmission and final plat for East Wind Hills Unit 2 subdivision. And the Planning and Zoning Commissioners recommended approval for the preliminary plat resubmission and final plat for East Wind Hills Unit 2 with staff recommendations at their September 17, 2024 meeting. There was a previous condition to submit the revisions that were part of the review from the plats, and since then the engineers have complied with this request, so there's no conditions placed on this item. And so in the location map, you'll see this property is along I-10. You'll see like a purple line. That's our city limit, and the hatched is showing the property, requesting the preliminary and the final plats. And so you'll see no color in the zoning map as this property.
For 1 second, we just lost quorum. How about you make the motion to take a break? Ask Jim first if we can do it right in the middle of a. He just got that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess you can continue and then we'll take a break.
No, thank you. So going back to the zoning map, there's no, you can see the property outlined in a thick yellow line. There's no color assigned to it as this property is in our extraterritorial jurisdiction. And then these are a couple of pictures that were taken along Gateway West Boulevard and Roaring Springs Drive in the bottom. The aerial image once again showing the size of the property. The traffic impact analysis was submitted as well as part of the requirements. A few intersections were looked at and favorable given the proximity to Gateway West and I-10. And so this is the original preliminary plat that was approved back in September 2023. The lot size at the property at the moment was totaling 630 acres. And so this is sheet 2 of 3, sheet 3 of 3 of that original plat, and the resubmission was reduced, is showing the reduced platted portion, which is about 344 acres. And so this is sheet 1 of 2, sheet 2 of 3, and sheet 3 of 3, I'm sorry. Followed by the final plats showing sheet 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, and 4 of 4. And so once again, the summary of this request is for approval of a preliminary plat resubmission and final plat for Eastwind Hills Unit 2 subdivision. And at this time, staff can answer any questions, and I believe Mr. Jorge Azcárate is present via Zoom to answer any questions as well.
Questions? Ruben Reyes?
I'm sorry, let me interrupt. I meant to catch the mayor before you said that. Mayor, may I be heard?
Yes, Mr. Martinez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jim Martinez, City Attorney. I simply wanted to disclose to the council, I represent the owner in a legal matter that does not directly involve the city of Socorro. I realize council didn't have any questions anyway. I simply wanted to put that on the record and tell council that because of that, I can't advise council about this particular item.
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares? Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to Human Resources Department, item number 20, discussion and action on approving the amended job description for the Recreation Leader to Community Liaison.
Motion to approve.
Good evening, Council, and Mayor and Council. Carol Candelaria here, HR Director. So this action is to approve an amended job description from a recreation leader to the community liaison. This was originally approved back in July 13th of 2024. So what we've done is just change the job title from the rec leader to the community liaison.
Any questions?
Ruben Reyes?
Yes.
Cesar Nevares? Alejandro Garcia?
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Moving on to Grants Department, item number 21, discussion and action to approve letters of support to reform Section 321, the minimis entry, allowing U.S. FTZs to have the same privileges that foreign located shippers enjoy with estimated 60% custom duty and tax savings by using the minimis entry.
Motion to approve.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jose Quiñones, Economic Recovery. Most of you have probably at some point have used Amazon or Etsy or Rakuten to order something online. And if it's under $800, it probably came in from a foreign country. And when it arrived here like overnight or in a couple of days. I don't know if you knew that. So a lot of the stuff that comes in that's valued at under $800, that's what's known as the Section 321 customs entry, or in plain terms, it's the customs exemption that you can bring in, including stuff that you buy in Mexico or Canada. You do it, and you don't have to pay duties and fees. So this is what it's about. There's one thing in the federal customs regulations that don't allow foreign trade zones to bring in goods under this de minimis entry. And what the National Association of Foreign Trade Zone is asked the grantees, the city of Socorro being the grantee, is to support and request our congressional delegation to support the action to level the playing field, for foreign trade zones. So that's what this letter is about. We're asking council to support the item that would allow foreign trade zones to bring in quickly goods into the U.S. commerce, which right now it's an impediment because actually foreign shippers and foreign companies in other countries have the advantage. Okay. Now, we know most of the time we don't hear about these things, but this is a big game changer for foreign trade zones. If it does go through, it will level the playing field, improve job opportunities for more personnel to be hired in foreign trade zones, because you would have all these de minimis goods that are under $800 of value to come into a foreign trade zones. Right now, they're not allowed to by federal regulation. So that's what this is about. Any questions?
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares.
Yes.
Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to planning and zoning, item number 22, discussion and action to approve event permit and payment waiver request for Escontria's Halloween parade.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Item number 22 is the Escondido STEAM Academy Halloween Parade event permit and waiver request. So the event name is the Escondido STEAM Academy Annual Halloween Parade. The representative or the applicant is Mr. Enrique Viramontes. The event is scheduled to occur October 31st, 2024. The time for the parade is scheduled to be from 8:30 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. And the route that was provided to our department outlined that the parade would begin on Buford, turn into Alameda Avenue, and would end on Rio Vista Road. And so the summary of the request would be for the Escondido STEAM Academy event permit and fee waiver for their annual Halloween parade that would be taking place on Thursday, October 31st, 2024. And staff recommends approval of the Escondido STEAM Academy Halloween Parade event permit and fee waiver request. And at this time, staff can answer any questions.
No questions.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on, Mayor and Council, item number 23, discussion and action to approve Resolution 803, approving the appointment of Victor Perez to the Board of Directors of the El Paso Central Appraisal District.
Motion to approve.
So this is my item. Apparently, our representative there is retiring, so we do have to pick a new one. I'd like to have Mr. Perez represent us there. Any questions?
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Mr. Martinez, do we have anything for items 25 through 27? Okay, do we have a motion to delete these items?
Motion to delete.
Second.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Ruben Reyes.
Yes.
Cesar Nevares. Alejandro Garcia.
Aye.
Rudy Cruz is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Meeting adjourns at 7:33 p.m.
Night.